Ever tried to pay for a haircut with a chicken? It's not as easy as it sounds. This is the story of money. It's a tale about our greatest invention. It's not the wheel, it's not fire, it's the idea that lets you trade your work for a coffee. Money is a story. It's a promise. It's a tool that changed everything. But before we had crisp bills or shiny coins, we had a very big, very messy problem. We had to trade things directly. We had to barter. And that, my friends, is where the trouble, and our story, begins. Bartering sounds simple enough, doesn't it? You have something I want. I have something you want. We swap. Easy. But what if you're a baker and you need a new pair of shoes? He says, sorry, I have plenty of bread. But I do need a new roof. So what did we use before coins? Almost anything you can imagine. People needed something that was rare, but not too rare. Something durable. Something that everyone agreed had value. In many parts of the world, people used cowrie shells. These small, pretty shells were hard to find. They were light. You could carry a bunch of them in a pouch. They became one of the first forms of international currency, used for centuries. Africa, Asia, Pacific Islands. They were the original small change. It was a simple, yet brilliant solution. But shells weren't the only answer. Different places, different money. Roman soldiers were sometimes paid in salt. The word salary comes from Latin sal. Salt was incredibly valuable. It preserved food. It seasoned meals. It was a basic necessity of life. Being paid in a block of salt was like being paid in a block of pure usefulness. In ancient China, they used bricks of compressed tea. You could trade the brick. Or chip a piece off to brew a nice cup of tea. Talk about a liquid asset. Then things get really strange. On the island of Yap in the Pacific, they used giant stone wheels called rye stones. Some of these were huge, bigger than a person. They were made of limestone, quarried from another island hundreds of miles away. Shells and salt were good, but they had problems. Shells could break. A bag of salt could get wet and dissolve. We needed something even better, something more durable, something that was hard to fake. Humans have always loved shiny things, so, naturally, we turned to metals. Gold and silver. They were rare. They were beautiful. They didn't rust or decay. You could melt them down and form them into any shape. They were the ultimate status symbol, and becoming the ultimate form of money. The first coins appeared around 2,700 years ago in a kingdom called Lydia, in modern-day Turkey. They were small, bean-shaped lumps of a natural gold and silver mix called electrum. But what made them truly special was the stamp. The king stamped his official seal onto the metal. The stamp was a guarantee. It said, I, the king, promise that this lump of metal weighs a certain amount and is of a certain purity. You no longer had to carry a set of scales to weigh your gold dust for every single purchase. This stamp of authority changed everything. It created trust on a massive scale. You could accept a coin from a complete stranger. You didn't have to trust the person. You just had to trust the stamp. It wasn't just money. It was propaganda you could carry in your pocket. Here's our second surprising fact. Early Roman coins, called denarii, were nearly pure silver. But as emperors spent too much on wars and palaces, they started cheating. They would mix in cheaper metals like copper but keep the coin looking the same. This is called debasement. It's the original form of inflation. People eventually figured it out. They started demanding more coins for the same goods because the coins themselves were worth less. It's a lesson we keep learning over and over. The value of money is tied to the trust we have in the people who issue it. Carrying a big bag of coins is heavy. It's noisy. It's also a great way to get robbed. As trade grew, merchants needed a better way to handle large sums of money. The solution, like many great ideas, came from China. During the Tang dynasty, around the 7th century, merchants started leaving their heavy coins with a trusted agent. In return, they got a piece of paper. It was a note, a receipt, that promised they could get their coins back whenever they wanted. This piece of paper was much easier and safer to carry. These early paper notes were a simple promise. They were not money themselves. They were a claim on money. Instead of going back to the agent to get the coins, they could just trade the paper note directly. If you owed someone money, you could just give them the note. The paper itself started to circulate as if it were money. It was convenient. It was efficient. The world's first paper money was born from a simple IOU. In Europe, the idea one oberside, your derida, one krobi, one derid, yuri took a bit longer to catch on. It was the goldsmiths in 17th century London who became the first bankers. People would deposit their gold and silver with the goldsmith for safekeeping. The goldsmith would issue a paper receipt. The goldsmiths noticed that most people never came to get their gold all at once. There was always a huge pile of gold just sitting in the vault, doing nothing. This gave them a very powerful and very risky idea. The goldsmiths started to issue more notes than the gold they had in their vaults. They would lend these extra notes out and charge interest. This is called fractional reserve banking. It's the foundation of our modern banking system. It was a way to create new money out of thin air, based on a promise. It works perfectly, as long as everyone doesn't come for their gold at the same time. If they do, it's called a bank run, and the whole system collapses. Paper money, therefore, is not just paper. It is a delicate system built on trust. Section 5. The bank. A house for your money. What exactly is a bank? At its heart, a bank is a safe place. It's a vault. It's a place to keep your money from being lost, stolen, or eaten by the dog. This was its original purpose. You give the bank your money and they promise to give it back to you when you ask for it. In return for this safety, they get to use your money. This is the great bargain of banking. Your money doesn't just sit there in a dusty box with your name on it. The bank puts it to work. It becomes part of a much larger river of money flowing through the economy. Banks are matchmakers. They connect people who have money with people who need money. Imagine you want to start a business. You need a loan to buy equipment, but you don't know anyone rich enough to lend you the money. A bank solves this problem. It gathers up small amounts of savings from thousands of people. Then, it lends that pool to build houses, start companies, or go to college. They charge the borrower a higher interest rate than they pay the saver. That difference, called the spread, is how the bank makes its profit. It's also the reward they get for taking on risk. What if the borrower can't pay the loan back? The bank could lose money. So, banks become experts at judging who is a good risk and who is a bad risk. This system of collecting savings and making loans is what fuels economic growth. It turns dormant pools of money into active investments. It allows society to fund huge long-term projects that no single person could afford. So, a bank is much more than just a place to cash a check. It's an engine. It's a heart that pumps money, the lifeblood of the economy, to where it's needed most. Section 6. The Ledger's Tale. Keeping track of it all. Money is a story, but how do we keep that story straight? How do we know who owns what? The answer is the ledger. A ledger is simply a record book. It's a list of all the transactions, who paid whom, how much, when. Clay tablets of ancient Mesopotamia. Digital spreadsheets of today. Ledgers are the silent heroes of the financial world. They are the official memory of our economic lives. Without a reliable way to keep track, the entire system would crumble into chaos. Bookkeeping makes commerce possible. Giant rhinestones of Yap, the community's shared memory of who owned which stone, was a mental ledger. When ownership changed, the ledger was updated in everyone's mind. When goldsmiths started issuing paper notes, they kept a physical ledger. In a big book, they wrote down who had deposited gold, who had been issued a note. This book was the single source of truth. If the ledger was lost or destroyed, the promises it contained were lost with it. The ledger was, in a very real sense, more valuable than the gold in the vault. When you deposit money in a bank today, the same thing happens. The bank doesn't put your cash in a special box. They add a number to your account in their digital ledger. Your bank balance isn't a pile of physical money. It's an entry in a massive, complex database. Money has become information. Section 7. Invisible money, cards and clicks. The 20th century brought a new revolution. It was the age of plastic. The first credit cards appeared in the 1950s. They were another step away from physical cash. A credit card is not money. It is a tool for creating a short-term loan. When you swipe your card, the bank pays the merchant on your behalf. At the end of the month, you get a bill. You then pay the bank back. It also created a powerful new business model, built on interest payments and transaction fees. Debit cards, which came later, work differently. They are a direct link to your bank account's ledger. A debit card is like a remote control for your money. When you use it, the money is instantly moved from your ledger entry to the merchant's. It's a direct digital transaction. It's safer than carrying cash. It's faster than writing a check. Wallets got thinner. Transactions got faster. Then came the internet. And everything changed again. Suddenly, we could move money around the world with a few clicks. Online banking let us check our balances and pay bills from home. Payment systems like PayPal made it easy to send money to anyone with an email address. The ledger was now accessible to everyone, all the time. Money wasn't just digital, it was becoming mobile and instantaneous. The physical act of payment is disappearing. Money is becoming invisible. Section 8. The Crypto Enigma, Money from Code. Just when we thought money had become pure information, a new idea appeared. In 2008, a mysterious person or group named Satoshi Nakamoto published a paper online. It described a new kind of money called Bitcoin. This was not money issued by a government, not issued by a bank. It was cryptocurrency. It was money created and managed by a network of computers. It was secured by complex mathematics, or cryptography. Think back to the ledger. Bitcoin's ledger is different. It's called the blockchain. The blockchain is a public ledger. A copy of it is stored on thousands of computers all over the world. When a transaction happens, it's added as a new block to the chain. Because the ledger is distributed everywhere, it's incredibly difficult to cheat or change. This decentralized ledger is Bitcoin's big innovation. This new form of money has created a lot of excitement and a lot of confusion. Supporters say it's the future, more democratic and more transparent, free from the control of governments and banks. However, critics point to volatility, energy use, illegal activity, and systemic risk. The story of cryptocurrency is still being written. Is it the next logical step in money's journey, or is it a fascinating but ultimately dead-end experiment? Only time will tell. Section 9. The Human Story. Trust in our pockets. So what have we learned on this wild journey? We've gone from chickens to shells, from giant stones to gold coins, from paper promises to digital bits. We've even peeked into the strange new world of coded money. The form of money has changed again and again. It has become faster, lighter, more abstract with every step. It seems like a story about technology, a story of efficiency. But if you look closer, you see that it's not really about the technology at all. It's about something much more human. The secret ingredient in money has always been the same. It was there with the cowrie shells. It was there in the king's stamp on a coin. It was there in the goldsmith's paper receipt. It's in the banking system today. And it's the central challenge for cryptocurrency. That secret ingredient is trust. Money is a system of mutual trust. It's a shared belief. It's a collective story we all agree to tell each other. It only works because we all believe it will work. Without trust, the most advanced financial system is worthless. Sometimes that trust is broken. Governments print too much money. Banks take on too much risk. And when that trust fails, the system fails. The story of money is also a story of learning from these failures and trying to build more resilient systems of trust. So, the next time you tap your phone to buy a coffee, take a moment. Think about the incredible journey that led to that simple act.